I see, Barbara. Now, Barbara, before I butcher your last name, because I've had my name butchered endlessly, how do you pronounce your last name?
Legere.
It's exactly what I thought.
Yes.
It's French, correct?
Oui, it's French Canadian.
French Canadian. So Montreal?
My dad was from Nova Scotia.
That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah. So
Nova Scotia.
I've been taught to say French Canadian. It is not French. It's French Canadian.
French Canadian. Yeah, you corrected that right away. Okay. Do you speak fluent French?
No, I spoke it when I was in high school. I took it for 4 years and I spoke it, but I lost it because my dad passed away and he was the only person that I really talked to in French. So
right.
Yeah,
okay.
I lost it.
There's an entire country that speaks French. Just, FYI.
I know. And I worked for a guy that was fluent and I could understand him, but I couldn't, All right, I admit it. I just let it go. I didn't try.
You lost it. You haven't lost it. It's still there. Okay. Now, moving on. Look, I speak Farsi. It's my first language, but I'm not fluent. I cannot express myself the same way I can in English, but I understand probably, I'd say 60, 70% of the conversation. I speak colloquially because I didn't learn grammatically. And I can read and write, but it's very, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade-ish. So I understand. You do have to have someone around that you can speak to and speak with and keep asking, how do you say that? What did that mean? It can get challenging. So you and I met in a writing group. It's been I want to say about a month, maybe a month and a half ago, right? For me, something like that. Okay. And you're one of the, actually, you're a published author.
Yes.
What's the title of your book?
The title of my book is Keven's Choice, and the subtitle is A Mother's Journey Through Her Son's Mental Illness, Addiction, and Suicide. My goodness. Okay. So you've been through the ringer. Yes, I have. Your son's name is Keven. Keven. And was he your only child? He was my only child. Okay. And he took his life in August 2020 at the age of 29. Oh my goodness, you just lost your son. Okay. At the age of 29. Yes. What was your favorite thing about Keven? Where does that smile? What's that smile about? The first thing that came to my mind was his laugh. He just had this little girl giggle laugh that didn't go at all with how he looked. I loved that about him, and I just loved his heart. I loved who he was as a person. He was a very generous, giving person. Right on. What did he do? Or was being employed tough with everything else that was happening? He only had one job in his entire life. And that was during a period when he was not using, and he did really good. He was on Suboxone. And I don't know what that is. What is Suboxone? Suboxone it's considered medically assisted treatment. And when you're addicted to an opiate like heroin, which is what he used, or Oxycontin or whatever, if you take Suboxone, it will block the opiates from getting you high. Now, that takes all the fun out of it. I know. That's the whole point. Joking about addiction. So sorry. Okay, so his drug of choice was heroin. Actually, it wasn't oxys. Okay. No, he started with heroin, which is unusual. A lot of kids start with pills, or people start with pills, and then they turn to heroin because it's so much cheaper and easier to get. You have to have a prescription to get oxy. And if you buy them on the street, they're like, I don't know, $10, $15 a pill. So heroin. How long do you think he was using? He started at the age of 17. You know exactly when he started using? Yes, he came and told me that night. Not that night that he started, but he'd been using 3 months, and he came to me and told me.
How'd that conversation go?
I was shocked. This is actually in the book. He and his girlfriend came in my room at about 2:00 in the morning and sat on my bed and said, or Keven said, I need to tell you something. So of course, what do I think? She's pregnant, right? I was prepared for that. But when he said, Mom, I've been using heroin, I was like, what? Because at that time, it wasn't in the news. There was no opiate epidemic talked about. And I'm like, heroin, what the heck? That's what, people coming home from Vietnam used, and, bombs on the street in the 60s. That was my mentality at the time.
Wow.
I had no clue that you could even get heroin. I thought it was some old drug that wasn't even around anymore. That's how naive I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You live let everybody know where you live, what part of the world.
I live in Orange County, California, which is in Southern California, in Mission Viejo, which is a very suburban area.
Also a very white area.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's yeah.
Very boring.
Thank you. My folks don't live too far away from you. They live in Lake Forest.
Oh yeah, that's very cool. That's right next door.
It's like a 10-minute drive for you
There's
at most.
Very little diversity in this whole Orange County area.
Well, if you want a little diversity, I know a biracial couple that birthed me. You can go say hi to them. And they've got 3 gay sons and 1 black sheep of the family.
I would love to meet your parents. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Little diversion. Yeah, that is a white reaction to a drug epidemic. It is an epidemic. And
yes.
White folks don't know about it because it doesn't come into their neighborhoods as frequently. So Keven was 29. This was when he was 17. It's 2022. So 12. This is 14 years ago. So we're looking at 20. My math just left me.
17?
2017, right? Or approximately 2017. So yeah, the opioid crisis. Not 2007.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't do math, so whatever you say. Yeah, 2007. That makes more sense.
Yeah. So yeah, interesting. So he came in and sat down. There's so much in that little thing you just said. At 17, he brought his girlfriend in. What time of the night was it?
It was around 2 a.m. I was sleeping, and he had.
So was he high when he said it?
Yes, he had called my sister and said, I can't drive, will you come get me? And so she thought, he'd had a few beers or smoking pot or whatever. And she could tell something was different. And they're very close too. She helped me raise them. I'm a single mom from day one. And he was nodding out in the car. And she finally got him to admit what was happening. And he said, don't tell my mom. She goes, oh, I'm not going to tell him. You are right now. And so he did. He came in and told me. And boy, I've learned a lot since then. And I certainly know that heroin is not some drug from the 60s. It's everywhere. Affects every ethnicity. There's no. It affects everyone. Age, socioeconomic status, race, it doesn't matter. It affects all lines of life, and it's really
you really had a crash course.
Yeah, I did. I learned a lot, and I learned from the experts. I learned from the people that were doing it. I became very close with a lot of his friends, and that's how I wrote my book. Was based on a lot of things I learned straight from them. So to help other people understand, because they deserve to be understood. What they're going through is not a choice. No one wakes up and chooses to ruin their life and be led by a drug and, ostracized by society because of it. No one wants that.
No, no. Very well said. You you met up with his friend. So you met up with a bunch of teenagers who were hooked on
Teens
horse, as they
and in their 20s. I mean, it started when the first time he went to rehab, and then I just got to know several really well throughout the years. I'm still friends with the ones that survived. A lot of his friends are gone now that I got to be close to.
What does a lot mean?
Well, off the top of my head, Anthony, Michael, other Anthony, John, Gilbert, Kelsey, Aaron, 7 off the top of my head that I felt very close to.
How old were they when they?
Between the ages of 27 and 34.
All white?
Gilbert was Hispanic, and the others were all white.
Gilbert lives in Orange County as well, South Orange County?
Yeah, Santa Ana, which is
Santa Ana.
predominantly a Hispanic area.
Predominantly Hispanic, correct, right. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. You just popped off 7 human beings.
Yeah. And that's just that I personally know. I belong to a support group where I could tell you 300 names from South Orange County. I mean, I just got chills just saying that, even though I've known it for years. It's not right.
It is what it is, and which is one of the reasons we're doing this and talking about it. It's been going on forever in Black and brown communities. Especially.
Yes.
You know, when you have the color of skin that you and I have, it affords you a privilege and a luxury of, I don't see you, right? I don't see it.
Yeah.
And there's a certain level of honesty that has to occur within each one of us as white Americans, that you do have a tremendous privilege, and there is inequity and inequality.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so aware of white privilege. I've become more and more aware of it, and it's just so blatant and obvious if you really are honest and look at it. How
did I not see that, right?
Yeah, I didn't see it until I started to have more African American people in my life that actually were talking about it. And then I chose for 1 year, I read only books like memoirs by African Americans, and that really gave me some insight. Okay. So, wow, it's
crazy, right?
Yeah.
Did you meet more Latino and Black folks as a result of Kevin's drug use and death?
No Black folks. I saw a lot of them when I visited him in prison. That was very diverse, prison and jail, but mostly Hispanic and white.
Okay. I'm biting my lip, diverse. I would beg to differ, but I'm sure where you were in Orange County, it was diverse.
Yes, there were a lot of Black people in prison.
Thank you.
Hispanic.
Thank you.
And you're right. I just said that.
It's okay. No. I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable.
No, the white is definitely the minority in prisons. I know a lot about prisons. I have a lot of friends in prison that have talked to me about it, and not a lot of friends in there right now, just one. But yeah, it's definitely predominantly Black and brown.
It's an eye-opener.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I mean, Keven was a big minority in there. That's how I could always tell. You'd see this long line of people waiting to come in and visit. You go, oh, there he is. He stood right up.
Was prison tough for him because of his race? Was he in prison or was he in jail?
Both. Prison is definitely much worse. And I also have a chapter in my book that says prison effed him up, because prison was probably the worst thing that ever happened to him. He was not, he would say different, but he was not cut out for that lifestyle.
No one's cut out for that lifestyle.
And as a follower, Kevin was always more of a follower than a leader. And he wanted to belong. That was such a big part for him of life. And I never completely understood where that came from, but I understood the need to belong. And yeah, he was, well, you probably know a lot. You know a lot about prison and how
I know more than some.
Yeah, the gangs in there are, if you go in, you have to make a choice. Am I going to affiliate with a gang or not? That doesn't mean join the gang. It means affiliate. And so obviously he can't affiliate with blacks or Hispanics, so he had to affiliate with the whites. But there's so few whites that where he was located, the Hispanics ran that area. And they had him do things that he didn't want to do, hurt other people, and he got hurt. So it was just traumatic. And he used drugs while he was in there too.
Oh, listen. Yes. The prison system, you understand. You get a front row seat. Yeah. It's not, it's not, prison's not the place you send someone who's, in your son's case, serious mental health issues, and B, drug addicts. That's not where you send them.
Exactly.
It's actually the antithesis of what those two people, those two that group of human being needs. And then even to the point of prison itself, and I want to make this about prison. Prison is nothing to do with corrections and nothing to do with reform whatsoever. It is a den of thieves, rapists, drug addicts, pedophiles, you name it, murderers.
Absolutely. That is, if I ever write another book, that is exactly what it's going to be about. I only know about the California prison system, CBCR, California Department of Corrections.
One of the largest in the country, if not the world.
It is not rehabilitating at all. It's the opposite. So,
I spoke over the top of you. It's what?
It's the opposite of rehabilitation.
You said bullshit. I wanted to hear you say it. It is bullshit. Yeah, it's ugly.
And people have this bad conception that they think, they're getting an education in there, and they're helping people, and no, that's not true. No. That's rare.
That is decidedly bullshit. I'm laughing about something that's not funny. How tall was your son?
Pardon me?
How tall was Keven?
He was 6'1".
So big guy, big white guy.
Yeah.
And you say he was more of a follower, not a leader. Okay, I would say that's probably the majority of human beings fall into that category. I still am kind of amazed that he came and woke you up at 2 a.m. I mean, obviously, high AF, as they say.
Yeah.
I swear enough on this podcast, and there's no FCC regulation that says I can't because we're on the internet. Wow, talk about being woken up on multiple levels for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Were you able to fall back to sleep that night?
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I was sick to my stomach. I just didn't get it. And I wish I would have known then what I know now.
Well, I mean, that's the battle cry of the Republic, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can't know, but I think we can know if we educate ourselves beforehand of what might happen.
And that sounds like that's where you're coming from, and that's where the book was born out of.
Exactly.
Right. How long did it take you to write your book?
It took 15 months. And I started it 3 months after Keven passed away.
Wow.
I felt like I had to. It was something we wanted to do together. He wanted to write a book about his success and how he overcame, but that didn't happen. So about 3 months after he was gone, it wouldn't leave me alone. The thought would not leave me alone. I need to write a book. I need to share the message. I need to make this his legacy and show that his life mattered by helping other people. So I hope that's what my book has done.
Good on you. Well, I'm sure it will and has and will continue to. So 17, he passed away OD'd at 29.
He didn't OD. He did not OD.
Okay. I stand corrected.
He tried. He talked about suicide a lot. And
wow.
He made attempts. In fact, the opening chapter of my book is about talking about suicide with him. But he made several attempts, and he'd say, "Mom, don't call 911. Don't revive me if you find me. I want to die." Of course, I always did. He was left for dead a couple times. One time in an alley, he was on life support for days before they figured out who he was and called me. But when he ultimately decided to do it, he did use a gun. And he had told me that morning that he would never be able to stop using drugs. And in about 15 minutes later, I heard a gunshot come from his bedroom. So I knew what had happened.
My. Thank you for sharing this and being willing to talk about it and being so forthright about it, because probably I would guess not most people don't get to have these conversations or hear this. So thank you for that. It's an amazing strength of spirit and it's coming from a place of a mother's love, which is
yes.
Yeah.
And a love for other people that hopefully won't have to experience it.
I can hear it and I can feel it, and I'm certain that it will come through to whoever listens and sees this. You, so many questions I have for you. So you said that you had talked with him about writing a book, and he wanted to write a book about his success in staying clean. And then from that time until his suicide, how much time transpired?
Well, we talked about it on and off over the years about writing the book, because he knew that was one of my dreams. I love to write, but I'd never, I'd just journaled and written a blog. I never thought I'd write a book. And he said, "Yeah, let's write a book, Mom." So it was something we talked about on and off. It wasn't like a definite plan, but it was something we talked about in passing.
How much time was spent talking about it before this happened?
Well, on and off over the years. It's hard to say.
More than 5?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So it's interesting because I hear a son's love for his mother in that, and a son's support of his mother. May not have had the words to say it, I don't know, but
yeah, we were very, very close.
Right. Well, how could you not be?
I know how much he loved me, and he definitely knew how much I loved him.
And still, that wasn't enough to stop him.
No, if love could save someone from addiction or mental illness, we wouldn't have a whole lot of it happening. We just wouldn't.
Well said. I'm glad you said that. I agree. I know that to be true as well. Yeah. What do you think? Have you given this any thought? What caused Keven? So, I'll ask you the first part. 2-part question. Sorry, but I want to give you an idea and then just let you talk. What do you think was the genesis of Keven's mental health issue? And 2, what do you think pushed him to start to use?
Well, I noticed that Keven was depressed a lot when he was still a young kid.
What's young kid mean?
When he was in the 3rd grade specifically.
7 years old.
Yeah. He had a really bad accident and broke his leg in 3 places. And that had a big change on him too. It was very hard for him. He's in a wheelchair for 4 months, and the trauma
Wow.
of the accident, and then being teased by kids and being ignored by school, and that just kind of started a depression in him. And his teacher mentioned it to me also. And at
Mhm.
that time, I realized, well, gosh, I was depressed my whole childhood, and I kind of just thought, that's just how it is. And I started taking antidepressants to check and see, will it help me? And
When
it
did you
did.
start?
I must have been, let's see, he was 8. I had him when I was 30, I guess 38. I was around 38 years old.
So at the same time that he'd broken his leg and he was in the wheelchair,
Yes. And
you
when
started
when
to
his
notice
teacher
your
said,
depressive states.
yeah, I thought,
Okay.
I'm not giving my child medication until I try it myself. And I was kind of hoping I never had to. I just
So
didn't think it was,
you went right. Okay. Sorry.
yeah.
Sorry.
So,
Sorry.
no, that's okay.
Well, it makes for a shit recording when I keep interrupting you. Wow. Okay. How many children in your family? How many brothers and sisters do you have?
3.
3. Were your brothers
Including me. I'm the oldest, and I have a brother and a sister.
Okay. Were your brother and sister similarly depressed?
Yes. Yes. Not as children, more as adults.
Would you? Aha. Interesting. Okay. So you wouldn't say it was clinical necessarily? I mean, we're not mental health professionals, either one of us.
Well, I think it was genetic and clinical. I mean, his definitely a brain chemical imbalance, because the medications helped, and they helped him for years. And he thought, well, like many of us do, including me, oh, I don't need these anymore. And so he stopped taking them because he put on a lot of weight as a young kid. Plus, he was, sitting in a wheelchair for 4 months, and he got chubby, and he started getting bullied. So by the time he was in 6th grade, he said, I'm not taking these anymore. And he was fine for a few years till he was about 15.
And what happened at 15?
Well, that's when he discovered drugs and how much they help with your depression and anxiety. He also had severe anxiety. That was probably even more so than the depression. So he started, smoking weed, drinking with his buddies, and he really liked the way he felt. It got him out of his self. So once
He talked with you.
yeah, he talked to me about it. He got caught doing things, so I always knew what was going on. I just didn't think when he was 15 smoking pot and drinking, I thought that was normal because I did it. I tried all the drugs in the 70s, and
Come on, all the drugs?
all of them except heroin. But yeah,
So you never shot up.
and no, I never shot up. But I
Did he
did.
shoot up or did he snort?
Oh, Keven, he shot up. Definitely.
He was hardcore.
Yes, and he almost lost his leg at one point because of the abscesses. Because when you shoot up, eventually your veins collapse, so you have to stick it in a muscle. And if you're using a dirty needle, you can get an abscess, which can take over your whole system, turn into sepsis, and you can die. He was in and out of the hospital with abscesses all the time. I started buying my son clean needles. So I talk about that in the book too. It's kind of controversial, but it's called harm reduction.
That's exactly
And
right.
yeah, I started buying him clean needles because I knew he was going to use the dirty ones.
Wow. You really went through the ringer.
Mm-hmm.
You saw it up close and personal. He went hardcore. White boy went hardcore.
Yes.
Yeah, he was not messing around.
No.
Started out with weed and drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did that too. When right around 15 years of age was the first time. I was square as Delaware. Delaware, a square, it's a rectangle, but anyway. Yeah, and I had things happening in my life, and for me, our family had just escaped a revolution in Iran. And I had 3 gay brothers, which none of us were talking about at that time. My parents and I have talked about it after the fact, and I've talked about it with my brothers as well. We all knew, but,
Yeah. It's a different time.
Yeah, this was the late 70s. It was a different time. It's so funny. Kids today just look like, whatever, it's gay. I don't care. I like to wear makeup. And like, God bless you, and shut your stupid mouth. But instead of saying that, I pause and I go, that's what you sounded like when you were their age. There's talk about depression being hereditary. I do not subscribe to that hypothesis. As I'm listening to you tell me your story of Keven and Kevin's story, to me it seems clear that these are behaviors that come out naturally of unresolved emotions and emotional issues, and less than effective communication. And again, like, I'm not a mental health professional, and I can hear so many of them in the background clicking their tongue at me, wagging their finger, and they're entitled to do that, and continue to do that, and that will not bring your son back or any of the other 300 plus that who go down this path. And really all your son's trying to do is to self-medicate, to stop the pain of the bullying, of the ostracizing. And we haven't talked about it, and I don't mean to try or make you any more uncomfortable than you may or may not be, but not having dad around.
Yeah, that was huge. That was huge.
Well, that's the genesis of this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Genesis of the whole thing. And it's unfortunate, and life happens, man. And I don't hear you blaming yourself. I'm sure you've gone through that, and you probably still have moments, and will continue to.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah, I do. Because there's a whole chapter in my book called Guilt also, and that is the guilt that I brought him into the world without a dad. I mean, he obviously has one, but one that chose not to be in his life until much later, when Keven was older. He couldn't relate to Keven as a baby, a toddler, a little kid, but he did relate to him as he got older, and they did develop a relationship. So he was part of his life, probably last maybe 10 years.
So a couple of years after you first started using.
Yeah.
May I ask what happened with you and your ex, or his father?
Well, yeah, we had broken up a whole year before I got pregnant. It was one of those, hey, let's have beer and pizza tonight. We haven't seen each other for a year. And, I went back to his place. The next thing I know, oh my gosh,
Right. Sure.
So,
you're a human being. I got it.
And we were friends. I mean, we still cared about each other, but he got married.
You didn't want it.
He did not. I didn't want to marry him. He offered to marry me, but I think it was just, the obligatory, well, we could get married. I mean, no, that wasn't going to work out for me. So, and when I think back, I think, yeah, I made the right decision, but maybe I should have tried to meet someone, and he could have had a really great stepdad. But I didn't do that either. So,
was he Catholic?
No.
No.
Keven thought of himself as Catholic, but no, his dad wasn't not religious or spiritual in any way. Still isn't.
Interesting. And he still offered to get married.
Yeah.
So, since we're recording this now on May the 23rd of 2022, whenever you're seeing this or watching this, we are inches away from losing Roe versus Wade decision with a extremely corrupt and stacked Supreme Court. That's another issue. But since we're talking about an unwanted pregnancy, did that ever enter your mind to abort?
Not at that age. I had an abortion when I was younger, and I was 30 when, I didn't even know if I wanted children, but I was 30 years old and I thought, you know what if this is my only chance? I couldn't, it just felt different, between age 30 and age 15 when I knew for sure I didn't want that baby. I just couldn't be a mom. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it, and I'm going to be the best damn mom I can be. Mm-hmm. So that's how I made my decision.
Have you lived in Orange County all your life?
Yes, pretty much. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you and the father, did not have any connection really up until Keven was about 19?
Well, actually, what happened was his sister ran into us at a park. And when Keven was like 18 months old, and she took one look at him and said, "Oh my gosh, that's Tommy's kid." And so she told her parents, and we were very close when I was dating their son. So he became a part of their family when he was 18 months old. He was invited to, Christmas. They celebrated his birthday. So he did have a relationship with that side of the family. His dad would come over twice a year on his birthday and Christmas. So he did have a relationship with him, but more so with his grandparents than his dad. And he also had a half sister and a half brother from his dad.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Did he have a relationship with them?
Mm-hmm. Yes, Amy was.
Wait, I'm sorry, just a moment. You said 1 month older?
No, one much older sibling. She was 16 when I had Keven, and then the other one was probably about 4 or 5 years younger than Keven. No,
Wow.
That would have been funny though.
Okay. So one's 16 years older than him, and then one how old compared to him?
Let's see. I'd say he's about 5 years younger than Keven. And sadly, his older sister passed away 6 months after he did to complications of drugs. So his father lost 2 children in 6 months.
I'm speechless.
Yeah, and he wasn't part of her life either. Now, the youngest child, he is still married to her mother, and they're close. And that child, I don't know if this has anything to do with anything, but he has very serious mental health issues. So it's just sad. It's sad.
Does he wrestle with depression or something else? Schizophrenia? Or?
I'm not sure what his diagnosis is, but I think from what I've heard, it sounds like schizophrenia. I haven't talked to his dad. I think the last time I called him was the year anniversary of Keven passing, and he seemed very uncomfortable, so I never called him again. I do keep touch with the brother, though, the half brother. We text sometimes.
Wow. Not good to make me speechless. For me to go speechless. So sorry you've gone through all that and continue to. I don't know what else to say. So I'm going to segue. Wow. So let me ask one question. Tommy was married or was not married before?
Tommy got married out of high school when he got his girlfriend pregnant. That's when they had Amy, and then they divorced 4 years later. And her grandparents raised her because her mother and her father were not able to. And then he met me, and, he was single the whole time. And then a few years after I had Keven, he met someone else, married her, and is still married to her today. And they have their son. who lives
Okay.
with them.
Okay. Okay. Wow. So much there. Let's back out of that because I've gone speechless. Um, when you decided to start writing the book, I hear that, you know, it was really, excuse me, an act of love and a way for you to process your grief and the shock and everything that goes with losing a child. I have no idea what that would be like. You know, you and I were on a Zoom call earlier, the writing group, and I'd said that my parents' 14-year-old doggy died this morning in my mother's arms. That's our dog didn't. He died in my arms too. My wife and I, and that's as close as I'll ever get. So I have no idea. I can imagine. I've got an amazingly vivid imagination, but I don't know what that would be like. I talked with my mother-in-law about it when her oldest child. She lost two children. She lost her first child shortly after birth. It's pretty much sudden infant death syndrome. Yeah, this was way back in the 50s. Didn't know what it was. And then Ralph III passed away from stage 4 cancer. And she was just inconsolable. And that was like the beginning of her decline. She would just, we'd go and visit her. She lived in Atlanta, and I would hear her cry through the wall of the bathroom in the other room. And it's not like it was, paper thin walls. And I mean, howling. Yeah. Yeah, I don't mean to upset you more.
No, you're not. It is considered the most difficult loss of all.
She would always tell me, Dar, it's not right. It's not natural to bury your child. It's not natural to bury your child. And this is a woman of, considerable strength, and not to suggest you don't have it, but, she was, you rarely saw her like this. So that hit me. I understood that. So when you wrote the book, what was your main goal?
Let's see. Well, I had two goals, but when I started writing it, it was just so strange because I just felt like I had to write it. And I just started writing little memories and, more about his life. Mm-hmm. And then I realized when I got all that out, that what I really wanted to say and needed to say and wanted to say was the message. I wanted to spread the message and make several different points in my book, and that became the goal. So, do you want me to tell you
the message? Yeah. I mean, are you going to sit there? Do I pry it out of this woman? What the?
Okay, the messages in the book. Well, the number one message is that this could happen to any family. This is not unique to Keven. Keven is not a unique person. There are so many people like Keven out there. There are so many families that have lost children and that have a child that is struggling. And when I say child, I mean it doesn't have to be your child. It's your husband, your brother. You could have someone in your life struggling. And that in itself is living a nightmare. It is living a nightmare. And I show that in the book. Another thing I want to get across is the system and how it's broken. The prison system, the drug treatment system, the, what do I want to say? Not the
mental health,
the legal system, the mental health. I mean, it was so difficult getting help, especially for someone with HMO insurance. It's not, you don't just say, okay, I need help and let's go get it. No, it was a fight. It was a fight, and I lost that battle. I mean, it took years to find him a really good doctor, and by then it was too late because 4 months later he was gone. And the other message, and this is probably the biggest one, even though it may come across as sounding simplistic, but I really honestly believe this in all my heart, that a little kindness goes a long way. If we have compassion and empathy for our fellow human being and just start with our circle of people that we know, it will make a difference in the way we treat people, because it will make a difference in how they feel about themselves. I don't see that happening a lot. And I see how people like Keven were treated, how he was treated, not just by people that didn't know him, by people that knew him, by his family, some family, by doctors and nurses and police officers, just by society in general. And that's happening all around us. And I think a message to parents is that please don't think it can't happen to your child. Please don't say those dangerous words, not my kid, because it could happen to your child. And right now, fentanyl is killing more people and is more serious and dangerous than heroin ever dreamt of being. It's so scary. Every single day I hear of a new child dying. Every single day. So
let me ask you something. Thank you for that. That's well said, and definitely from the heart. And I don't disagree with anything you said. I would say one thing you said up front. I can't even remember what it is right now. Doesn't matter. If we could wave a magic wand, everything being equal, again, magic wand, anything is possible. I think, hold that thought. I think that, I was in a cult and I had a pretty hectic upbringing. I always had a roof over my head. I always had clean clothes, always had a school to go to, food in the fridge. Like everything looked great. There were a lot of things happening all the time. I had this long, funny Persian name, teased endlessly. My brothers teased endlessly, picked on, because of their sexuality, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, when I talk about it, people get uncomfortable. They don't want to, oh God, you're a downer, man. Even if they don't say that, right?
right.
You're talking about drug addiction and be nice and be kind. Well, shut the fuck up. That's how people are. And that's what you're addressing. If you're able to entertain, if you bring levity to it, if you're able to make it funny, if you're able to make it lighthearted, the message can seep in, and it doesn't have to be so on the nose. It can be around the corner or underneath or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I'm throwing this at you out of the blue, but I want to end on this. How do you think you might honor your son's life, his struggle with mental health, his depression specifically, his struggles with heroin addiction, and still get that message out in that spirit, in that
making in the spirit of lightness?
Good start. Well start. That's a great starting point. Good starting point. You don't even have to say anything else after that.
And I can laugh. I can laugh, and I can, it's like you do move forward. Grieving the loss of a child is like nothing. I changed in that moment. I changed. I will never be the person I was before. But
thank God.
Yeah, and
goddess.
Now I lost my train of thought, but I don't know what I was going to say.
Well, that's because I talk too much. You were suggesting that you were white. That's not where I was going, but that's fucking funny. And you've changed from that moment forward.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, if you could wave a magic wand and you could make this more lighthearted and entertaining, funny even, darkly comical, whatever. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. What do you think might be an avenue to pursue? Because I agree with you. We are not kind enough to one another. And I'm guilty of it all the time, more times than I care to admit. And, I can turn a blind eye to mental health issues. I can turn a blind eye and demonize, which is what I'm hearing you say. You saw the court system, the police, doctors, counselors treat your son like his friends even. So I was just wondering, I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Well, I think I'd have to think about that for a minute, but
fair enough.
There should be some way to do that. And when I started writing the book, someone that is also an author that I know and who's also very funny said, you need to find a way to bring some humor into the book. She goes, I know that sounds crazy, but I tried. I mean, I tried to share things that were lighthearted, but it was kind of hard to do that. But people have enjoyed reading the book. They say, yeah, it's hard to read, but I'm glad I read it. So I think I did okay.
I'm sure you did. I didn't mean to suggest you did anything.
Oh no, I did. I know.
Okay. Yeah. Look, you're not a comedian. You don't do improvisation. I'm not a comedian. I'm just, a smart ass largely, I would imagine. As you told me the story, I will confess, there were in the depth of the darkest parts of it, I'm like, that's fucking hilarious. Da 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 da. And I've got 17 things going through my head, but that's my own insanity or whatever. I'm teasing. I don't think I'm insane, and I do think I'm insane in the most delightful ways. I'm going to read the book. I haven't gotten it yet. I will read the book. I'm glad that you talked about this. Yeah, it's tough. There's no question. And drug addiction is no joke. And depression left unchecked, no bueno. And you touched on a lot of really salient points and important points, and a lot of people are dealing with. And I salute you for, acknowledging that, as a white woman in South Orange County, you had no idea. And good Lord, did Keven ring the bell at 2 a.m.? Well, to be fair, he was high as all fucking get out.
Yes.
I'm so sorry, but that is hilarious. He called your sister, and he's nodding out in the car, saying, well, you're going to tell your mother,
And
really? Is this the time to do it?
I know.
Right now?
Now that is funny. That is funny.
That's hilarious and tragic. And listen, man, it's the human condition right there. Yeah. Barbara, I thank you so much for your time and sharing this. I'm so glad that you wrote the book and that it's out there and people get a chance to read it and learn more about it, hopefully. And who knows what'll come out of this, and who knows where this will go, right? But you took the step, yeah. And by the way, writing a book, so difficult. Difficult.
It wasn't easy.
Well, I was just going to say,
I had a lot to learn.
I know what, I'm in grief. I just lost my only child. I'm going to write a book.
I know. I felt like I had to apologize for that. Like, I know I shouldn't be doing this already, but I had to. I wanted to. And it wouldn't have happened if I didn't do it right then. I don't think it would have happened because I'm not in the mood to write a book right now.
Yeah. I can imagine. That's that. You really loaded up your sleigh with several anvils there. Wow. Anyway, I'm impressed. Color me impressed, and I thank you for this. And
thank you, Dar. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Good.
Love to talk to you anytime about anything. You're a very interesting person, and really enjoy getting to know you.
Oh, well, you're kind. Thanks. I just think I'm another guy, like you're another woman, just trying to get through the day, the best of their ability, And if I can do it better tomorrow than I did it today, then
it's all we can do, right? That's all we can do.
As far as I can see, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, and if I am, I leave that room ASAP. But as far as I can see, that's it. Yeah. All right, Barbara. Thank you so much for your time. Go out and get her book. It is called
Keven's Choice. Keven. Keven's Choice.
Keven. Keven's Choice by Barbara Legere.
Oui, thank you. Merci.
Not bad for a white boy, huh? Oh,